Pick up almost any beer bottle in the world, and you'll notice something strangely consistent about it. That tall, narrow body, the extended neck. It's a shape so common that it feels almost invisible. But it wasn't always like this, and it didn't happen by accident. So why is the long neck the standard shape for beer bottles? Somewhere along the way, one specific design quietly took over an entire industry, outlasting other shapes that were once just as popular. Let's break it down and trace how this design became the norm, right here, on History of Simple Things. Beer bottles didn't always look the way they do today. Early glass containers in the 1700s were thick, dark, and shaped more like wine bottles than modern designs. There was no universal standard, and breweries used whatever containers were available or affordable at the time. Even into the early 20th century, many shapes existed, including short, wide, stubby bottles that were common in North America. These stubby bottles were durable and practical, with a lower center of gravity that made them less likely to tip over during handling or storage. For a time, they were considered efficient and reliable for everyday use. But as production expanded and distribution networks grew, the long neck gradually replaced them. Not because it was the only option, but because it offered advantages that became increasingly hard to ignore. One of the biggest reasons the long neck became dominant was standardization. As the beer industry expanded through the 20th century, breweries needed bottles that could move smoothly through automated production lines and fit into shared distribution systems without constant adjustments. The long neck evolved into an industry-standard bottle with consistent measurements for height, volume, and diameter. This allowed machines to operate more efficiently without recalibration. It also made it easier for distributors to pack, transport, and store beer using uniform crates and shelving. Instead of managing many incompatible shapes, companies could rely on a single format that worked across different systems. This consistency reduced costs, simplified logistics, and allowed large-scale operations to run more smoothly over time. The long neck shape also proved highly effective for storage and transport. Its slim, elongated body allows bottles to be packed closely together, maximizing space in boxes, refrigerators, and shipping pallets. Compared to shorter, wider bottles, long necks leave less unused space, which becomes a major advantage when handling large volumes. The design also strikes a balance between stability and efficiency. While stubby bottles are harder to tip over, they take up more room and limit how many units can be stored at once. Long necks remain stable enough for everyday handling while allowing for denser packing. Over time, this balance made them the preferred choice for breweries operating at scale and distributing products over long distances. The long neck serves more than just a visual purpose. One clear benefit is grip. The narrow neck provides a natural place to hold the bottle, making pouring more controlled and predictable in everyday use. Another advantage is temperature control. By holding the bottle at the neck instead of the body, you reduce the amount of heat transferred from your hand, helping the beer stay cold slightly longer. While the effect is subtle, it contributes to a better overall experience. The shape also helps guide the flow of beer during pouring, reducing splashing and giving better control over carbonation and foam, resulting in a smoother, more consistent pour. Beer is sensitive to environmental factors, especially light and oxygen. While the color of the glass, usually amber, does most of the work in blocking harmful UV rays, the bottle's shape still plays a role in preservation. The long neck design reduces the surface area of the opening, helping limit how much oxygen interacts with the beer when poured or stored. This helps maintain flavor and carbonation over time. The structure also supports consistent internal pressure, which is important during storage and transport. In addition, long neck bottles are often durable enough for reuse, sometimes going through multiple refill cycles before being recycled, making them a practical and efficient choice for breweries. Even with all these practical benefits, another reason the long neck endured is familiarity. Over time, consumers began to associate this shape with beer itself, turning it into a kind of visual shorthand. When people picture a beer bottle, the long neck is usually what comes to mind without much thought. That recognition carries real weight in marketing. Breweries know that a familiar design can make a product feel more trustworthy and easier to recognize on a crowded shelf. Even craft breweries often stick with the long neck because it signals authenticity and tradition. At this point, the design has moved beyond function and become part of beer's identity. The long neck beer bottle didn't become the standard because it was the only possible design. It became standard because it solved multiple challenges at once in a consistent and reliable way. It worked well with machinery, made storage and transport easier, improved handling, and helped preserve the beer inside. It also adapted well to the growing demands of mass production, where even small efficiencies started to matter at scale. Over time, these practical advantages aligned closely with industry needs, and the design quietly spread until it became the default across much of the world. What started as one option among many gradually turned into the universal choice, reinforced not just by engineering and logistics, but also by decades of everyday use and consumer familiarity. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.